Hey guys, again, I'm Pavi, and I'm currently the Director of User Experience for MHacks 6, and today I'm going to talk about sort of the things I've learned while planning a hackathon, and sort of how you can plan your own hackathon if you're ever interested in the future. So these are my blueprints for success, yay! Okay, so what is a hackathon? We'll first have to start off by what is hacking? And I consider hacking to be thinking of creative solutions and innovative solutions to existing problems. And this doesn't have to be using technology. Often there's a technological connotation with hacking, but I think hacking is just making use of the resources around you to come up with new solutions to pre-existing problems. So a hackathon, in my opinion, is a celebration of the creative process. It's really a space or event of any duration where people come together and work together on solutions to solve problems. So my first hackathon was MHacks 5, which was this January. Yeah, if any of you remember the snowball fight, that was MHacks 5. And it's where I learned Swift for the very first time and made my first iOS app. So I don't know if you guys know the app Yo. Nod. Yes or no? Okay, cool. So I made, does anyone also watch Silicon Valley? Okay, so you guys know about Bro, right? Well, disclaimer, I made it first at MHacks 5. Didn't push it to the Apple Store, but I'm pretty sure they took it from me. But it literally did the same thing. So if you guys don't know Yo, it's basically an app that sends Yos to people. You have a list of people, your friends, and it sends a Yo push notification. Really simple. And I made a Bro version. And I was oh, join the Bro Alliance. What's your Bro code? What's your Bro name? I don't know. It was a really, really nice beginner app to start off with. And the really incredible thing about MHacks 5 to me was the iOS Cortex. And during, in this Cortex, the Apple engineers were just accessible the entire time in terms of mentorship and asking questions. So anytime I had a syntax question or even just a theoretical question, they were always accessible, just there, sitting on their couches in the front of the room, and being able to connect with an engineer on a personal level and just in an environment that's not as high pressure as a career fair or something like that. It was just really, really awesome. And of course, the side activities at MHacks 5 were pretty awesome, the snowball fight. There were therapy dogs. I don't know if anyone remembers that in GG Brown. That was super awesome when code broke and didn't work, and pushing Xcode to GitHub was bad. But there were some really, really great parts that came into that. And it was my first glance into the hackathon community. And after that, I decided that no matter what, where I was going in the future, I knew I wanted to be involved in this community. So I had talked to Vikram, who was the previous UX director for MHacks, and I went up to him and I was hey, if there's any way I can help out with the next MHacks, let me know. And he messaged me a couple weeks later, and he was what do you think about directing MHacks 6? And I was huh. That escalated very quickly. But I applied anyway, and went through the interview process, and here I am today. So I'm going to tell you what I learned during my experience so far. So the basics of a hackathon, if we go to the very core of what a hackathon is, you need people, you need food and water, sustenance, and you need Wi-Fi. And those are the basic elements. And once you have those, you can start building around that. But those are your core elements. So let's start with the logistics, what you'll need to actually put on an event and throw the event. It's the bare bones of any hackathon. So the first thing you want to start off with is the venue. This is one of the most difficult parts. It took us maybe about a month and a half to decide on our venue, and we ended up back at North Campus anyway. Moving off campus is very, very hard, so if it's your first hackathon, I definitely recommend looking at your university and settings like that. First of all, it's free, so you don't have to worry about budget or anything like that. You only have to worry about certain auditorium type buildings. So our opening and closing ceremony are taking place at Hill Auditorium, so we have to pay for that. But the rooms we've rented out in the engineering building have all been courtesy of the School of Engineering, so that's been great. The second thing you want to worry about in terms of logistics is food, water and coffee. You want to have a pretty steady supply of water and coffee throughout the entire weekend, just to make sure people stay hydrated, but also make sure that they're caffeinated. It's kind of like a hard balance to strike, but we've done it pretty well in the past. And in terms of food, you want to make sure you have your regular dietary restriction options. We usually go with vegetarian, vegan, and just gluten-free to make sure we cover sort of all the bases. And you want to make sure you're actually giving hackers something healthy to put into their body. We do offer snacks, but it's not just junk food after junk food. We are trying to offer energy bars, not energy bars, but granola bars and stuff like that to really make sure that people are filling their bodies with the right nutrients so that they can hack for as long as they need to during the weekend. And the last thing you need is Wi-Fi. This is a very, very important part of the hackathon. I don't know if you've heard horror stories in the past about hackathons that have not had Wi-Fi for the weekend or a long, long time, and people don't really know what to do. They're anxious about starting to hack, and yeah, I mean, it's a great time to connect with people, I guess, and make friends, but at the core, you can't use Stack Overflow, you can't go on the internet, and it's just a real bad time. You can't submit anything to Challenge Post, which is how we do our judging. But yeah, Wi-Fi infrastructure, making sure you have as many access points as you can to make sure that everything goes smoothly. And Wi-Fi also kind of ties into power. You want to make sure you have enough power to ideally let everyone plug in their laptop to a specific outlet and stuff like that. Okay, so after you've gotten the bare bones of the logistics down, let's talk sponsorship. So the main point of sponsorship, it ties almost directly into UX. So once you have the money and funds to actually do cool things with your hackathon, this is what you can do to make the experience better for your hackers. So in terms of sponsorship, the way it's worked for MHacks, 6 at least, we've gotten a lot of sponsors. We have the Michigan name, first of all, and after that, a lot of our sponsors are returning sponsors, and they sort of already have a relationship built with us, and they are always happy to come back and help out with us. But for hackathons or schools that don't necessarily have these relationships already made, Gmail and cold emailing is honestly one of the first ways to get started. It's just about sending those 300 to 500 cold emails, and you'll probably get around 50 or so responses back, and that's okay because that's a really good number. Michigan typically, MHacks typically gets 50 sponsors, which is an incredible amount by any hackathon standards. We actually had to turn away a couple sponsors this year because we're running out of room. But in terms of sponsorship, you really just want to make sure you have enough money to put on a great event, because at the end, a surplus of money is always great, and having money is always great, but if you don't know what to do with that and how to allocate those funds, your event can still be a flop. Another great way to reach out is LinkedIn. So you can always look for alumni on LinkedIn and actually look for positions that have to do with either marketing or outreach or even just tech. Just look for someone as high up as you can and reach out to them. And usually Michigan alumni are very willing to give back and come back to their school and sort of help out with that. And in terms of sponsorship, the most important thing that you want to develop is a relationship with the actual sponsor. Make them want to come back to MHacks every single time. So now that we've talked about logistics and sponsorship, it's time for my favorite part, user experience. So this often starts with one question: what's your mission? So before you can start creating an experience for your hackers, you really have to think about what mission you're trying to put out at this particular hackathon. So some hackathons want top quality hacks. Some hackathons want to create a beginner-friendly hackathon. Some hackathons want to have a civic hacking or social good focus. At MHacks, we really focus on the community aspect and the energy. I think that's something that sets MHacks apart, and it's continued to set us apart. When people come to MHacks, they don't really know what's going to happen during the 36 hours or by the end of the weekend, but that's why they come. They come to meet the people, they come to sort of test their boundaries and take the first step. So yeah, after you've decided what the mission is, you can start making decisions that align with that vision. And everything from here on out is about the hacker, because this event is for them. In the end, like every decision you make, it should be for them. So a couple things, kind of went over them. My mission statements. Community is everything. At a certain point, you can make an event as great as it can be in terms of like side activities or like tech talks and have really strong mentorship. But you need to make people feel as if they're a part of a community, and you need to make people feel like they can ask questions and really interact with the hackers around them, especially if they haven't met anyone before. So yeah, and another thing that I've been doing this time around is making sure we come off as human and personable as a hackathon, so that people aren't afraid to apply. Because in the past, we've gotten a lot of people that have said, oh, I might not apply because I don't think I'll get in anyway. And that is definitely the wrong reason to not apply. Because we really take our application process very seriously. We go through each application and evaluate them on an individual basis. My third mission is personal growth and empowerment. I want everyone to feel the same way I did after my first MHacks, and that was like me feeling like I could create anything if I put the effort into it. And I felt like I grew as a person, as a hacker, in just 36 hours. So I was like, whoa, if I can do this in 36 hours, what can I do during the rest of my life, you know? And again, like going back to the energy, the synergy that makes people want to come back. So something borrowed, something new. Don't be afraid to borrow and share ideas with other hackathon organizers. So an example of this, like the social impact track that I'm starting at MHacks 5, I'm 6, wow, okay, is just something that was inspired by Hack Duke, Hack Duke throws an entirely social good hackathon where they get a lot of nonprofits and their university to come and make sure that everyone creating there is actually solving a social issue and a social problem. And I thought that was like really inspiring, because you have so many qualified individuals in one room, and if you use that power, the power of technology to like change the world, that's something that I think is incredible. And beginner workshops is another thing that I'm introducing, because especially a large hackathon like MHacks, 1,300 people, it's definitely overwhelming to come inside and like not know what to do, not know where to go. So by providing these beginner workshops, which was inspired by Pearl Hacks, an all-women's hackathon at UNC, and Dev Week, which is at Columbia, we've created a beginner workshop series that sort of provides a path for people who have never really been to a hackathon before, but these provide like launch pads for our courtesies: iOS, Android, web dev, hardware, and virtual reality game design. And it really provides like a solid foundation for them to go and feel comfortable enough to join one of those courtesies and actually create something by the end of the weekend. But at the same time, don't be afraid to like explore new territories and possibilities. It's how our hackers grow, and it's how hackathons should grow. So, and this one thing I'm starting that hasn't been really seen before is like a Women at MHacks meetup. It's like an 8 to 10 hour meetup on that Saturday, and it's just like sort of a hacking space, sort of like just a general area where women at hackathons can come together and sort of network and like talk. There'll be lightning talks, panels, and it's just a really inspiring time for people to feel empowered about being at a hackathon and like doing this. And a semester-long workshop initiative. So this works great when you have communities like Michigan Hackers or Wolverine Soft even. Those are the two organizations that I'm looking to partner with this time to create a semester-long workshop initiative. So in the past, I've seen with hackathons that it's really hard for people to know what to do after the hackathon is over. So they're like, oh, this is great. Like, I did this for 36 hours, but where do I go from here? What are the next steps? You know, how can I keep this desire to create and this passion for creating going the entire semester? So by building off of the workshops that we do at MHacks, we're going to have a series of like foundational courses and then like elective type courses to see like, hey, like maybe I want to do like iOS games or like user something in iOS, something like that. But they aren't mandatory at all. It's sort of like you can go to as many as you want or as many as you need. But I think that's something that would really engage the community after the hackathon is over, which I think is super important. And don't reinvent the wheel where it needs to be, but always, always iterate. So when certain parts are working, you don't want to completely start anew. That's why they're working, and you can keep them there. But you can experiment with parts that can improve. So mentorship. At MHacks 4, we did like a really cool like mentorship program where we paired mentors with each other before the actual hackathon started, and we had like an adopt a noob program to varying degrees of success. But stuff like that, if we just added a little more structure to the program, I think could have been really, really impactful. So that's something we're trying to do this year. And courtesies. So, okay, fun fact, people call them like cortexes, which actually isn't a word. It's courtesies. That was a little confusing. So yeah, courtesies are really great because they provide like personalized environments where everyone is hacking on the same type of technology. And it's really great because you can have engineering mentors as well as student mentors. There's something really powerful about walking into one of these rooms and like asking a question, like a general question to the room being like, does anyone know how to do this in iOS? And like 10 hands shoot up and be like, yes, I know how to do that. It's a great way to meet people, it's a great way to network, and it's a great way to give back to the community. So, we're going to end with this one last question. What makes you unique? So after you have everything working with your hackathon, it's really time to think about what sets you apart from the hundreds of other hackathons going on right now. And really, this ties into like your mission statement. So again, if it's like what makes you unique is bringing the top talent, like the best talent to your hackathon. That's something that sets you apart. If you want to focus on like a health hackathon and like really shed light onto health tech and stuff like that, that sets you apart. But you really want to stay true to what makes you unique, because in the end, that's what's going to make people remember you, and that's what's going to make them want to come to your hackathon. So that concludes my talk. Thanks for listening to me, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.